Hello. How is everybody this evening? My name is Mitchell Smith, and welcome to our fourth performance of Zoom Matinee. We are excited about this week's performance. Can you hear me? Okay. I couldn't hear myself and I was confused. We're excited about this week's performance. This was actually going to be the weekend that Death Trap opened at the Clemens Center for ELT. It would have been playing in Manderville Hall. Unfortunately, because of pause, we weren't able to run that show as planned and ended up having to cancel it. But we were able to bring on four of our actors from that show, Amy Hathaway Gilbert, Joshua Wilburn, and Christine Gill, who will be performing in today's performance of St. Martin's Summer. At the beginning, you probably saw a commercial for Kaleidoscope, which will be 171's fundraiser this year. Last year we did it at CMOG, but again, because of pause, we are not able to throw an in-person event, but are excited to bring it online. We will start sending out information about that this week. So if you're not already signed up to get emails from 171, go to our website and sign up. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube for 171, be sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you get notifications anytime these live videos start. I am also excited about this week because I was actually able to take most of the week off and hand this over to my partner, Angela Daniels, who is going to join me here in a second.
Hi.
She took over as the producer and tech director this week, and I am going to let her talk to you about today's show. And I'm going to go ahead and take myself out while you do that.
Sure. So this week we are presenting for you St. Martin's Summer. It's written by Cosmo Hamilton. It takes place in I think it's 1911. It was directed this week by our very own Charlie Rizzo from Elmira Little Theater. And like Mitchell said, we are thrilled to present three of our favorite actors who would have been opening this weekend for Death Trap. Amy Hathaway Gilbert, Christine Gill, and Josh Wilburn. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's production of A St. Martin's Summer.
Jack, I say, Jack, I can't come over for half an hour. Isn't it rot? What? Well, I know I did, but Father's got to see his agent, and he's told me off to keep the Colonel and Mrs. Allingham amused until he's free. Frightfully sorry. And look here, it isn't for you to be surly. What price me? The Colonel's a darling, and Mrs. Allingham's the sweetest thing on earth, but I never know what to say to old people. What? Aren't they? Oh, well, they seem old to me.
I agree with Jack, my child. Sensible young man, Jack.
Oh, you've heard?
Old people.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry.
Sir, silence. 6 paces to the front. Quick march.
Please forgive me.
Old people, are we? By Jove, how history repeats itself. When I had the run of this dear old place, 20 years ago, I remember being asked by your father, then in the spring of his life, like you, in this very room, at this identical hour, to keep some of your father's guests amused, as you've been asked. There were 3 of them, and they were all fine, strong, upstanding fellers like me. And I thought that they were old, antediluvian, and funked it, as you do. Now, I know that they were not only not old, but not even autumnal, but were enjoying their St. Martin's Summer, as we are. Now, will you withdraw your libelous remark?
Consider it scratched. I'll never say that you're old again, and I won't even think it.
Then you can go and leave me to amuse Mrs. Allingham.
Don't you want me to stay?
I want you to stay very much. I want to renew our friendship. Do you mind my pipe?
Would you like me to light it for you?
No, thank you. Would you like to be as useful as well as amusing, huh?
Ashtray, matches, and the Morning Post.
I never read the paper.
But you've been reading it.
No, I only look at the headlines and hurry on. On my way down last night, I drew a picture of you in my mind.
Am I like it?
Exactly. Except for the face. Yours is like mine, but better. You have your mother's eyes, your father's nose, your mother's ears, and your father's tongue.
Oh, I said I was sorry.
You've nothing to be sorry about. Your father has a gift of saying things that win all hearts. When he was 10 and I was 9.5, he called me a silly ass. I gave him a hiding, and we've been pals ever since.
Father's often told me of how you used to spend all of your holidays here.
Dear old place. It's just the same. The trees are older, the bricks are warmer, and you're here, but it's none the worse for that.
Thank you.
Yes, all of my holidays were spent here. Great times, my dear, great times. I've shot over the covers and skated on the lake, basked on the tennis courts, and galloped over the turf.
Birds nested?
In every tree and hedge.
Ratted?
In every hole.
Fished?
Every inch of the stream.
Prigged peaches?
Heaps of times.
Laid awake for the ghost.
And shivered under the bedclothes.
Then you did everything.
Every blessed thing. I did another thing, too. Do you know a beech tree 300 yards from the bridge?
With initials carved in it.
And underneath them, a heart pierced with an arrow.
You carved them.
3 weeks before I went with a regiment to India. It was a fine bit of work. The heart was as big as that.
Well, now it's as big as this.
No, not as big as that.
It's bigger.
20 years ago, I was very badly in love. She was a school friend of your Aunt Hetty's.
A deer?
No, an angel. Not tall, not short, just right. She had hair and a nose, 2 eyes, and a mouth, lips, hands, and feet.
Oh, had she really?
And I've never met any other woman in any part of the world who had any of them.
Good heavens.
You know, because I've known you your whole life, I don't think that's any reason why you should pull my leg. I've never forgotten her. I'm still in love with her. Every time I've come home, I've tried to find her. I'm still looking for her. When I find her, I shall marry her.
But suppose when you do find her, she's greatly altered.
She couldn't alter.
Would you know her at once?
Instantly. Anywhere.
Did you propose to her?
No. I hadn't the right. No money, no pluck, no practice.
Then she wouldn't have waited for you.
Good Lord, I'd forgotten that. And by Jove, I say we are forgetting Mrs. Allingham. Oughtn't we be amusing her?
I expect she's writing letters.
I don't suppose so. A woman only writes letters when she wants to get out of an unpleasant engagement. Don't you think we'd better go find her?
Do you like her?
Very much. Indeed. Immensely. What did I say?
I asked if you liked her.
Do I like her? Do I like Mrs. Allingham? I don't know. I believe I shall. She was late for breakfast and sat with her back to the light. I like the voice. It reminded me of. Oh, hanged if I can remember. Let's go and fetch her. I'm certain I shall like her. Coming.
Yes. Oh, well, here you are.
Yes, here I am, as large as life. You've been smoking a pipe.
I wish I had. It was Sir Richard.
Of course. What a delicious smell. The smoke from a big man's pipe does more to make a room comfortable than all the furniture in the world. Where is Sir Richard?
He's gone to look for you.
For me? Why? Has he remembered that it's rather selfish to leave a fellow guest to her own devices so soon after breakfast?
Yes, he said he thought you ought to be amused. He thinks he's going to rather like you.
Oh, he won't be able to help himself. All big men like me, rather. I was going down to the lake with a book when my left ear suddenly began to burn, and I started out to find Dick.
Dick? Who's Dick?
Oh, the Dick or Tom or Harry who was talking about me. You and he are old friends, I suppose.
No, I don't know him a bit, but he knows me well. He hasn't been here since the year before I was born.
Yes, it's 20 years ago. Did he say anything about being short-sighted?
Well, not a word. Is he short-sighted?
Most men become short-sighted after 20 years ago. Good heavens. Look. His tobacco box has the inscription RH from VS.
Why, those are the initials carved on the beech tree.
How do you know?
I've known them all my life. Sir Richard was telling me about them just now. He carved them, you know.
And what did he tell you about VS and the heart and the arrow through it?
Well, he was very funny.
Funny?
Yes. He said she was the only woman who ever had 2 eyes and a nose and 2 feet in the world.
Did he? Did he really? How nice of him.
In fact, he raved about her.
And yet from his description, she seems to have been a very ordinary woman.
So I should have thought. But he doesn't think so. He still loves her, and he's still looking for her.
Why didn't he tell her so when he saw her?
He hasn't seen her yet.
Then he is short-sighted.
I suggested she might have been altered past recognition.
Altered past recognition? It's only 20 years.
Oh, VS. I'm sorry I said that.
Oh, my dear, it's the truth. No wonder he's forgotten. The VS whose initials he carved, the VS he loved and whose love he won and never said a word to, is the same VS in his heart, but no longer the same in his eyes. He'll never find the VS for whom he's looking. Time took her by the hand 20 years ago, and I don't want him to ever find the VS of today. Let him live with his dream, and let me live with mine. After all, the arrow has been through the heart for 20 years.
Oh, hello, dear ladies.
Now, Enid, not a word. You promise?
I promise.
Oh, don't stop smoking for me.
Honestly.
Oh, there's nothing I love so much as a pipe after breakfast.
You don't say so.
I don't mind confessing that I like a pipe all day long.
Don't you find it rather bad for the teeth?
For the teeth? Oh, not a bit. I only draw the line at one sort of pipe.
The clay?
Oh, no, I think the clay is quite convivial. I mean the conversational pipe. The pipe that wheezes like a poor old workhouse man.
I think you're quite right. Dash it. What have I done with my tobacco box? I wouldn't lose that for untold gold.
Is this it?
Oh, thanks awfully. How do you like that mixture?
I believe you think Mrs. Allingham smokes a pipe.
But don't you?
I tried once, 20 years ago. I've never forgotten it.
By Jove, you take a load off my mind.
Well, unfortunately, I must take my leave. I have an engagement with my dear Jack.
Cut away, my child.
May I, Mrs. Allingham?
Oh, of course, dear. But don't let Jack carve your initials in a tree.
Why?
It's unlucky.
Funny thing, you should have said that, Mrs. Allingham.
Oh, why?
I've been thinking that it's an unlucky thing to do for a long time.
Did you do it then?
Yes, in this park, 20 years ago.
Can you remember doing anything so long ago as that?
Rather.
But why do you think it unlucky? Were they the wrong initials? VS may stand for very scratchy as well as very sweet.
How did you know they were VS?
Oh, I saw them on your tobacco box and made a shot at it. Am I right then?
Quite right, but they stand for Violet Stanfield.
A rather pretty name.
It's very nice of you to say that.
Not at all. Was she a pretty person?
She was never a person.
I beg your pardon. It is rather a reproach to call a woman a person, isn't it? Almost as bad as calling a man worthy. They both suggest peppermint and cork soles.
As a matter of fact, VS wasn't a woman either.
Good heavens, what was she then?
The most beautiful girl ever known.
You were in luck.
May I tell you about her?
I shouldn't have thought there would be anything more to tell.
You wouldn't say that if you'd known her.
I wish I had.
I wish you had too. She would have done you good.
Was she a lady doctor?
No, good Lord, no. I mean, she was such a dear, such a gay, true, fragrant girl.
Thank you.
Why?
Oh, it's good to hear a man say those things about a woman. I thanked you for all the other women. Were you engaged to her?
No. No money, you see.
Was she so mercenary then?
Why? Mercenary.
But I suppose she could have gone without things for you.
But a man's wife must dress.
Well, naturally, unless they have a bungalow of bark on a desert island. She could have made her own dresses.
But my pay didn't run to the materials.
If a woman really loves a man, she's ready to fight for her dress materials at summer clearance sales.
I couldn't have asked her to do it, Mrs. Allingham.
You don't know what you have lost.
Don't I? 20 years of happiness.
20 years. You went abroad?
India, Hong Kong, South Africa, Egypt.
And she?
Married, I heard, and went to live in Australia.
And you never spoke?
No.
So that she wasn't to know that you loved her?
Well, I cut our initials in a tree and carved an arrow through a heart.
Yes, her heart.
No, it was meant to be a sort of joint heart.
Is she alive?
Of course she's alive.
I beg your pardon. Even the most beautiful girls ever known haven't the gift of perpetual life.
I beg your pardon. You gave me a shock. I'm sorry I barked like that.
Not a bit. I like you for barking. Why don't you try and find her?
I am trying.
She may be free.
Yes, she may be free.
But suppose she's forgotten.
I refuse to suppose that. It's very kind of you to be sympathetic.
Oh, no, not at all. I suppose you would know her if you saw her?
Anywhere. Instantly.
Really? She won't be the most beautiful girl ever known now, you know.
I beg your pardon. She won't have altered a day.
She really seems to be a very wonderful woman.
It's very good of you to be so interested.
The whole thing seems to me to be so sad.
Sad. Mrs. Allingham.
For the girl, I mean. 20 years ago, you and she loved each other. And you never said a word because you thought more of her dresses than her happiness. But she knew that you loved her because you carved her initials on the beech tree and drove an arrow into a heart. It was all very well for you. You had your work and your career, and they filled your life during those 20 years. But what of the girl? She waited and waited and waited, but still there was never a word. For years she said, tomorrow, there's tomorrow. But all the tomorrows became todays until she said, yesterday. It was yesterday. She watched you in India and Hong Kong and South Africa, those dark days, and in Egypt. Up the ladder you went, brave and strong, but he has forgotten, she said, waiting at home. Then she had her black days and met the angel of death upon the threshold and saw him take away father and mother. And she was lonely and without a tomorrow. And at last, old Robin Gray came a-courtin' o' me.
Vi.
Dick.
I should have known you anywhere, Vi.
So it seems, Dick.
You haven't altered a day.
I'm glad you think so, Dick.
I love you, Vi.
Thank you, Dick.
Hooray! Thank you. Thank you to our actors, and thank you all to everyone out there who came in. We do have some words of praise. We have a great job from Deborah Montrose, and then an amazing Amy from Barbara Salbego Hartman. So thank you all who tuned in and commented. Again, my name is Mitchell Hurricane Smith, and yes, Hurricane is my middle name. And let me take the time to introduce today's actors. First, speaking of Amy Hathaway Gilbert, we had Amy Hathaway Gilbert.
Hello.
Then we had Joshua Wilburn. I didn't say Wilburn.
Good, that's right.
And then finally we had Christine Gill.
Hey.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for being a part of this silly experiment. We still have some comments coming in. Melissa Norton.
Melissa Norton.
Hi.
Some applause.
Oh. Thank you.
Susie Yaki said, nicely done. And then Sarah thunderous applause.
Wow.
I wonder who she's related to.
Just a reminder, today's episode was directed by ELT's current president, Charles Rizzo. So I wanted to thank him. And then before we exit, let's bring my co-host and today's tech director back on, Angela Daniels.
Yay!
Hi. All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I'm thankful for the cloudy weather because it brought more people in. We got quite a few views today, so I'm very happy about that. And I just want to say one last time, thanks everybody who joined us today, and get out there and enjoy the rest of your afternoon before the rain actually does come. So, all right, everyone, have a good afternoon.